This is Infants on Thrones, the philosophies of men mingled with humor. We are the Quorum.
Welcome back to Infants on Thrones. I'm Glenn Ostland, and today we get to hear from the remarkably remarkable Liz, the winner of our February 2018 listener essay contest, by almost double the amount of votes that Delaney and Pete got. Now, Delaney and Pete were a very close second and third. They were so close that I mistakenly called Pete our second place winner multiple times, even though that was actually Delaney. Delaney was our second place winner. Pete was our third. Sorry about that, Delaney. But Liz just knocked all your socks off with her essay, Remarkably Unremarkable. But look, what does remarkable actually mean? I mean, the word remarkable, it means something that you are able to make a remark about, right? I mean, that's a pretty low bar to set, isn't it? But even if it weren't, Liz is definitely remarkable, as you will soon see from the conversation that Randy and I had with her. So enjoy. And for those of you who are interested in submitting something for the May 2018 listener essay contest, which is going to start in just a few days, there's still time. I have about 8 to 10 essays right now. Some are as short as 5 minutes long. Some are as long as an hour. I'll let you listeners and your votes decide what length of essay you actually prefer. I just like having this format to allow those of you an opportunity who want to express yourself, the ability to express yourself, especially since you can't anymore because no one's calling you up and asking you to give talks in sacrament meeting anymore. But if they do, always start with a joke. That's the secret sauce right there. Remarkable how that works, isn't it? Nah, I don't know, I guess. And thank you to all those who have recently signed up to support us on Patreon. Now, those donations go to the prizes that we give out to our essay contest winners. Remember, it's $200 for the winner, $100 for second place, and $50, I guess I should pluralize that, dollars, and $50, $100 for second place, $50 for third. Anyway, thank you for your support. And for those of you who have not yet joined us on Patreon, please consider joining. $1 per episode, capped at whatever your monthly budget is. I mean, Infants on Thrones is at least worth the price of a cup of coffee once per month for you, isn't it? Isn't it? Please, sure. It sure helps me crank these things out, so thank you again. And now, with no further remarking whatsoever, here is our reigning grand champion of listener essays, Liz.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone.
To figure this thing out, and so I was kind of forced to. What I am really impressed with are people that figure that out on their own without having to be compelled to be humble.
Sure.
Like Randy Snyder, who loves living inside of people's mouths.
I like straightening teeth. I put my assistants in the mouth.
You put your assistants in the mouth, you straighten the teeth?
Yeah, I'm the coach. I call the plays. They run the plays.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're in charge tonight, Randy.
I'm leading.
No. No.
I heard that, Randy, that you were special picked for tonight because of your availability. Right?
I'm the only one available. Did you try to get anyone else, Glenn?
I sent out the email that nobody responded to.
But nobody responds to anything anymore.
Nobody ever responds to any of those emails anymore.
Do they really not? Do they not talk? They don't respond back?
No.
How raw is your disaffection?
You know, it's funny. It's been several years for me. My husband's a little bit more recent, but your interview, the essay contest came at the same time that we were going back to Utah. It seemed like every 2 or 3 weeks for a funeral. I mean, every one of my husband's grandparents kicked the bucket within like 6 weeks. And so we were just going back. And if you go back to the motherland, like it just springs back all, these feelings and memories. And so Mormonism was like really on the forefront of my mind in a way that it hadn't been for quite a while.
Mhm.
And so then it just happened to be congruent with, the essay contest. So I had a lot on my mind. Funerals will do that to you. And
Did you stop at the In-N-Out in Barstow?
What? No. Were you in San Diego when you were going back and forth? I guess you were, because it was jazz.
Yeah.
It's this last, yeah.
Yeah. So no, we flew most of the
In-N-Out in
time.
Barstow.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Is Barstow the one that has that stupid McDonald's that's like a train?
I think so.
Yeah, my kids love that gross place. Okay, yeah.
Baker is the gateway to hell, or the gateway to Death Valley, which has got the big thermometer.
Yes, and the jerky, the alien jerky.
Yeah, I broke down there once for a good 12 hours. It was terrible.
Oh, lucky you. That's good.
Yeah. So what part of the motherland was your experience, your formative experience?
It's just a section, a neighborhood in Salt Lake called East Mill Creek. I don't know. Gordon B. Hinckley has kind of made it semi-famous. Anybody that's ever heard of it just knows of it because of Hinckley. He grew up or lived, not too far from where I grew up, a couple streets away. So I don't know. Are you guys familiar with that area? No, neither of you are from Salt Lake. Randy, where do you live right now?
I live in Denver, but I went to BYU for 4 years. So
okay.
And I vacationed every summer in Ogden.
Oh, wow. Ogden.
So I've had a lot of Utah experience, but yeah, I'm definitely not from there.
I did like when you used to talk about when you were kind of disaffecting because you were living in Kansas City, and that's right. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I served my mission in Independence, and so you would talk about these landmarks, and it brought back a lot of memories. I always liked to hear you talk about that area.
I had a couple of.
Hang on just a second, Randy. Liz, can I get you to take your the microphone here?
There? Better?
Yeah.
Do you want me to just stop breathing?
No, keep breathing.
Your mouth breather.
Breathing.
I am very nervous. I could stop breathing and it like nobody would be surprised.
There's nothing to be nervous about.
You guys are like the rock stars of my apostasy.
No,
Infants on Thrones.
No,
Come on.
thank you, but no.
And Glenn will edit it to make you look good, right?
Okay.
Glenn?
Because I always do that for you.
Go for it, man.
You never edit any content for for
What are you talking about?
You're the insert master. You're the insert.
That Sheldrake thing, the way that I edited, those like 10 points as we were going through the video, and you're just like, oh shit, that took me 4 hours to create that 5 minutes of audio. I did it out of love for you.
No, but like an actual like conversation, you don't go through meticulously and kind of streamline. And
I used to. It just takes so much time.
Yeah.
It is time consuming.
Yeah.
The editing was much more time consuming than I thought.
You did such a good job with it, though.
Was
Thank
that a
you.
Flight of
Really
the
good job.
Conchords insert there?
The robot one?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was.
Nice. I was like, that's Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah.
That's a great song. So Glenn, I mean, I don't know what your vision is for this. I actually would not mind leading it.
Do it.
But I want to know what your vision is. I mean, are we doing?
Oh, my vision is to find out more about Liz, and
okay.
It was just such a great listener essay. I would love to encourage Liz to contribute anything more that she wants to contribute to Infants by way of listener essay or anything else. Anybody else who's listening that wants to follow in Liz's footsteps. The future is female,
We must love each other and support each other.
Oh
true.
God.
What?
We have nothing to
God,
lose but
that.
our chains. Yes.
It's true. Fight the real enemy, and I don't want it to be us anymore.
Well, Liz did kind of have that vibe, a little bit angry, and I, there's nothing better than two guys who lost nothing as far as our aspirations and where we were, how we searched to find identity in the world, to in
I
light,
disagree with that, though.
I was going to say nothing and nothing. You don't think you
Yeah.
lost anything?
No, as far as like, what I wanted to be in the world. I wanted to be, like, I've known since I was 10 that I wanted to be a dentist.
Okay.
And since I got braces
Since
at
you saw
BYU,
Rudolph, that clay animation one, you're like,
yeah, the gay dentist,
yeah, a dentist,
Herbie.
a dentist.
But I mean, if you had wanted to be something besides a dentist, maybe something, do you think that you could have pursued any avenue as a Mormon male, growing up Mormon? I mean, there's some parameters there, I think.
There's nothing.
See, I think Liz is going to lead this actually now is what I'm figuring out. I like it. Take it. Go.
I don't think there's anything that intrigued me that I shied away from just because I was Mormon. I mean, I thought a little bit about being a pimp, but
that was just for the perks.
Then I'd have to wear a hat, and I'm just not that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not a hat guy. I get that.
His feather's not that big.
But
So I think you're kind of discounting though, Randy, and maybe you weren't this kind of Mormon, but the sense of meaning and purpose that it gave to your life. I mean, it kind of ties into Liz's essay, the sense of being quite remarkable and having something incredible to do in this world, even if it's just being a representative of the true gospel of Jesus Christ to everybody else. And then you lose that. Not everybody's able to find something to replace that gaping chasm of meaning that's left behind after a faith.
I'm talking about more narrowly how sad it was for me to hear. I mean, was this a passing comment, an offhand comment, or was it a true comment that you could have gone to medical school?
yes, it was a true comment. Yes.
See, that kind of thing is the thing I'm talking about. That, like, after you get married and you have kids and you've given up so much just to be a Mormon housewife, that's the kind of thing I don't understand. Like, I can sympathize, but I can't empathize. And that just sounds horrible.
Oh, I have no regrets about not going to medical school. I mean, I'm just joking, Randy. I'm just joking. Yeah.
I'm sure you think about it all the time.
I think
where you
about
could
it
be.
every stupid time I have to like watch Elmo for the 80th time that day, or I think about it constantly. And for a long time, when my husband was still in the church and I had stopped going, that was like the main source of all of our arguments. Was I just didn't understand how he could continue to support an organization that had so mistreated me, And it wasn't about like his relationship to the church. It was how the church treated women. I mean, that is one of, it still enrages me a little bit. All these funerals that I've gone back to recently in Utah, they've all been Mormon funerals. And I mean, the difference between the funerals for men is it's significant. Between the men, they talk about, he was a patriarch and he did this and he did this and he did this. And, the women are like, this is who she was married to, and these are the children she raised, and that's it, And then like, these are her quirks. This is how she cut cake. Like, that was like 20 minutes of one of them. I don't know. Yeah.
She made the best posters for homemaking night.
She made the best posters.
My mom had the best calligraphy, and she was known as and was abused because of her skill of using calligraphy on posters.
Yeah, you can't have any specific skills in Mormonism because it will be used and abused.
Yeah. So do you want to go back? Let's get a background on Liz. So what was your upbringing like?
I like I said in my essay, it's very boring. I don't know. Take any normal upbringing. I was born in Salt Lake. I have on my dad's side, I have ancestors that have cabins at This Is the Place. I mean, we've got Mormons all the way back, and just grew up on the East Bench of Salt Lake. I grew up in the same neighborhood that my grandparents lived in. We went to all the same schools, went to BYU, went on a mission, got married.
So why'd you go on a mission? Was it because your libido was weaker than your guilt complex? I think she said that in the essay.
I know.
I did say that. I was actually just talking to my husband about this the other day. I feel like so much of my life until, just the past couple of years has just been like, you just jump in the Mormon River and go where it goes, and you don't put a lot of thought into it. And so I really didn't put a lot of thought into going on a mission. I had a pretty serious boyfriend and I didn't want to get married. And so I went on a mission. I mean, I would love to tell you that there was, some selfless reason, but it was just like what I thought I was supposed to do. So
how did this serious boyfriend take it?
He didn't care.
He didn't care.
No. I mean, I don't know if you two gentlemen fall into this camp, but there is a section of Mormon males that like won't have anything to do with return sister missionaries. So there were a lot of people that I was dating that when I told them I was thinking about going on a mission, they would say, okay, that sounds really great, but I won't have anything to do with you when you get home. I mean, I don't know. So my husband himself said he was really surprised he would ever date somebody that had gone on a mission. It's like you go on a mission and
the mission romances happen all the time.
I know. I don't know if maybe I'm old and this is kind of like an older thing, but it didn't earn me.
I don't think you're older than either Randy or I.
Not
but
even
no,
close.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that like right now it's something that is, because I mean, I know a lot of younger women that go on missions now, and I don't necessarily think that it knocks down their social standing, but at least in my experience, it didn't get me any points when I got home.
Yeah, I was pretty much engaged in my mind when I got back from my mission to my ex-wife, who I met through correspondence, through writing letters and sending tapes and stuff on my mission. So I didn't really date much at all when I got back. But as I lusted after women as a young married man, several of them were returned missionaries. So I don't know, maybe I would have been different.
With that? Yeah.
I actually, I mean, really do. I respected it. That they had that experience. I think I probably would have looked at it as somebody who's been through that experience like I had been, and it would be just one more area of congruity.
Yeah, that's totally what I thought too. I thought, it was going to make me a better cow for somebody or whatever. But
or get you more cows.
Get a better cow.
Right,
that's right.
You could be I think like an 8 or 9 cow. Right?
I think there's something real to it, though. I think it depends on kind of the emotional maturity of the guy you're talking about. But I think a lot of young turn missionaries that are looking for wives might be intimidated by somebody who had the initiative to hold off on marriage. In your case, it was all the way till 21 before you could go. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I don't know. I think a lot of guys, when they're looking into the marriage pool for potential partners, are looking for someone easily controllable.
Wow. Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
I mean, you obviously think for yourself if you decide to go on a mission, and that's like, whoa, hey, I don't know if that's someone that will be such an easy partner for me. That's just a hypothesis. Obviously, I'm just shooting from the hip here. But
I thought you were going to say I'm just an orthodontist.
What do I know?
I know teeth.
I know teeth.
Outside of that, it's just opinion. But if you got some essential oil that you think is going to fill your cavities and correct and fix all that, then I can talk as an expert.
How do you know that Liz isn't into essential oils?
I'm just saying. I'm just shooting. That's a shot across the bow, man.
Yeah, I am a big follower of Goop.
You know the button's a push.
It's almost as if he was listening to us planning our Randy assault.
Was he listening?
No, he wasn't.
Oh,
He wasn't. He just, I think he's on guard now.
okay.
He knows the Gwyneth Paltrow references are coming.
Right.
Yeah, well, we have one confirmed death from bee acupuncture. That's great. Anyhow, that's all. That's an aside. So, your husband, despite his what he thought his instincts were, decides that he wants to marry you, a returned missionary,
I
an
know.
independent. Have you always had a feminist streak? Is that something that has kind of set you apart in your childhood or anything like that?
That's like the big fun run, like naked down the city. Is the big feminist streak? Is that what it is?
Sure, yeah.
Sign me up for that. That sounds awesome.
I participated in that ages 15 through 17.
Let the record
After
show
that.
that Glenn supports women running naked down the street.
Only returned missionaries, though. No, I think so. I hadn't always necessarily labeled it feminism, but I remember at a pretty young age watching 60 Minutes with my dad, and they were talking about how they didn't allow Girl Scouts to carry pocket knives. And I remember that just like enraging me, and turning to my dad and talking to him about it and how unfair I thought that was. And I remember very distinctly my dad turning to my mom and being like, is she going to be one of those? Like some comment like that. And I didn't necessarily know what it meant, but I did, but I didn't,
This should be one of those headstrong, hard to control.
Yeah, it's one of those
daughters.
thinking women. So no, and I mean, there were a couple of people, that I would date at BYU that they would ask me out, and then we would go on one date, and they would drop me off and just be like, "You're a lot." So I have always had, certain opinions, but I would definitely say that I had kind of like a quote unquote feminist awakening in the last like 4 or 5 years, just looking beyond just like my own life and, what the patriarchy does and doesn't do to all people that function under that umbrella, what it does to women, what it does to men. My husband went to MBA school, and I was like, I'm so bored. I want to go to grad school too. And so I just like picked a major that I could go to at night. And so I got a master's in history while he was getting his MBA. And that was kind of like the start of the end for me, because I was studying a lot of, Utah history, but also just, you have to read so much in grad school. And I learned a lot there about women in the way they have been treated and are being treated. And I think that was pretty eye-opening for me, because you'd read about it in books and then you would go to church on Sunday and it wasn't very different. And that was really hard to reconcile for a long time.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can relate to that where you maybe can look back and see some repressed and latent feminist sensibilities in your personality, that once you were freed from the shackles of belief, that you locked into a kind of an authenticity that suddenly felt like home. Like, now I can be myself. And that's kind of the way I felt when I left the church. I was always,
that's much more poetic than what I just said.
well, I was always like, and even my older brother told me when I was still deep in the church, he says, you are like a classic liberal as far as your sensibilities. And I was like, no, I'm not. And then once the shackles came off, I fully embraced my liberal sensibilities and felt like a totally authentic person. And so there's a happiness in that. Mm-hmm. But also frustration when the world turns conservative on you.
Sure. I could definitely. Hard same, Randy. Hard same.
So you had a faith crisis prior to your husband then. How did that work? What was that
Always
dynamic like?
super easy. It doesn't do anything to a marriage when one of you is in Mormonism and one of you isn't not. Especially when you have kids, it's so great. No, it was
That's sarcasm, everyone.
That is
that's being
sarcasm.
facetious. For those of you who haven't been to graduate school.
I'm also curious as to, prior to you guys getting married, did you have a good relationship with your in-laws? Did they feel like your son made a good choice? Were you accepted in the family?
What a great question, Randy. No, they do not like me and never have.
Wow.
Good question. Yeah. I did not know them very well. I went to BYU and I graduated, and then I got a job up at the University of Utah. So I was up there, and that's where I met my husband. He was at the University of Utah. So I did not realize that the dating routine is different in Salt Lake. At BYU, I mean, it's not totally uncommon to not meet your in-laws because there's distance and, you know, timing and schedules and everything to not meet your in-laws that many times. I mean, my older brother, I think my parents, he got married when I was on my mission, so I wasn't around for this, but I think my parents met my sister-in-law once before they got engaged. So I didn't think it was that odd, but I didn't know my in-laws. I didn't spend a lot of time with them. And so before we got engaged, and I mean, we were 25. It just didn't seem necessary, but
Yeah, you're pretty much adults by then.
Yeah, but I found out later that was a real huge sore spot with my husband's family, and they complained about it behind my back for a long time, that I hadn't taken the time to adequately, I don't know, get to know them or whatever that you're supposed to do with.
Allow them to vet you for him.
Oh, yeah, I guess, for their 25-year-old adult son. I don't know. So yeah, I did that all wrong.
So then you have the faith crisis first. Do they find out about it before?
No, no.
So you guys kind of kept it private in your couple?
Yeah, I told my parents about it. Once I had decided that I wasn't going to go to church anymore, I let them know, but I didn't tell my in-laws. But you know, there's big indicators. We had a kid, and we didn't bless him. And
oh wow, this started before your first kid was born.
Oh no! I had one more. She was older,
okay.
So this was my second child, and so that's noticeable. Things like that. So by the time they noticed my disaffection, my husband was pretty much there. So, but we were living in Florida and they were in Utah. So it's easy to, I don't know, you don't see them a lot and just go to church with them when you're visiting in the summer. So it's pretty easy to be covert when you're a country apart.
Yeah. But I'm thinking back to when my brother left the church back in 91. It was, and I ended up staying with his wife's parents when I was at BYU for a couple of months. And I went into that, like when we started to talk about my brother and their daughter, I came with the Snyder approach from our perspective, is that it was definitely Heather that took Jimmy out of the church. And from their perspective, it was definitely Jimmy that took Heather out of the church. So is there any assessment of blame from either parents?
Oh no, my parents know me, so it's my fault.
They knew that you were no good, huh?
Yeah. I don't know about his parents. It's never been, verbalized or even subtly mentioned, but I would definitely assume based on history that they would think it was my fault. I mean, I think they would think that it was my doing, and they would be correct. But yeah, I think so.
Ooh, wait. Why would they be correct? What did you do to him? How did you make him lose his testimony? Did you just hide it from him one day and he couldn't find it?
Wore him down.
Or did you just seduce him to the dark side?
Yeah, I just made him talk about it until his ears were bleeding, and then he finally said, "Okay, I won't go anymore."
That worked?
No, it did not. It did not. I thought I just kept trying that, but no, but I mean he'll listen to this later, so I hope he doesn't get mad, but I think he would still be going if I hadn't have dragged us kicking and screaming into second Saturdays. I don't think
Second Saturday.
I think he would still be active. I mean, he didn't have any reason not to be, he didn't have any reason. He didn't have a lot of dissatisfaction with it. He didn't have any problems. I mean, for a long time I would go to church and I was still believing, but it was pretty torturous for, several different reasons. But he didn't have anything like that. I think it was, a sense of a place that gave him peace and like a sense of self and a sense of belonging. And so he didn't really have a reason to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's got to be something that jolts you kind of emotionally to kind of loosen up the tie to the narrative.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And if you're just happy as a clam, I mean, why would you ever question?
Right.
So let's get to the essay. I'll have to tell you, my first reaction, and just hear me out, was that's not what the church teaches. The church teaches you to go by your gut. Like, your gut is how the Holy Ghost speaks to you. But then I continued listening, and I got what the point was. The point was, what do you do when your internal feelings go against what are established, church statutes or positions? And that's when you have to say yes means no or no means yes. That's where you have to say, something must be wrong with me.
Right.
Which can be really psychologically mind-fucking.
Right.
Yeah, because that's what the church does. I mean, they tell you that, listen to your inner voice. Now, here's what this has to conform to. And if it conforms to anything other than that, then it's not really your inner voice. Which
makes the inner voice completely superfluous.
It's a bait and switch.
Exactly. Yeah. The Holy Ghost, your inner voice, I mean, to me, the Holy Ghost, just works in the church office building himself. Like, your inner...
He retired years ago.
No, he never retires. I don't know. I mean, your inner voice, the church's main goal is to have the inner voice be them. And so, yeah, I mean, it's true that they say to listen to your inner voice, but you're right. It is superfluous, like, because your inner voice is the same as the church, what the church would want you to do. So what's the point of having an inner voice when it's just the same as this one external voice telling you what to do? At least I felt that's been my experience.
I think the church is like really pushes and is like really supportive of your inner voice when it comes to decisions that have nothing to do with the fucking church. So if your inner voice is telling you that you should take this job over this job, definitely like pray, and go with your gut, go with your inner voice. If it's, is it this house over this house I should buy? Go with your inner voice. But should women have the priesthood? Oh, whoa. There's no such thing as an inner voice telling you women should, because that doesn't exist.
But I have to tell you a story, Randy. I went to the priesthood session of conference this last Saturday night. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I went there.
Went physically?
I had a shirt and a tie, and I sat next to one of my friends that's just been a great friend since BYU, and I'm the one that asked to go with him. I just found it fascinating. And one of the stories that was told, I just couldn't believe it, was of some kid decided he was going to drop out of college because he got a really good job offer. And his priesthood leader came to him and boldly said, I am revealing to you that this is a mistake. You must not. Your life will be destroyed if you follow this path. And then he goes, needless to say, he stayed in college, and everyone laughed. Ha, 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 ha. So
the Mormon
chuckle. I say that to rebut your point that the church doesn't care about things except that is with the church, because every decision that you make impacts the church, where you work, where you live, whether you stay in college, whether you don't. And you're going to have people that will come in and say, your inner voice is telling you something different than what my inner voice is telling you for you. And I outrank you in the priesthood. So you got to follow me.
Well, that's when a particular asshole with authority over someone feels like feels presumptuous enough to make
last
that kind
Saturday,
of statement.
that was just validated by hundreds of thousands of men.
I know, but I don't think I ever had
women.
I don't think I ever had that happen to me where someone, like, I was making a personal decision that didn't have anything to do with anyone else or a priesthood leader.
Yeah, I mean, but that's because, like, in the hierarchy of the church, you were up there. I mean, I had that happen to me all the time in the form of priesthood leadership. At the end of my mission, I served at a visitor center, and so I basically had like two mission presidents, the mission president and then the visitor center director. So I had this exit interview with both of these dudes, and I'm leaving, and the mission president asked me, you know, what my plans are for when I leave, and I told him medical school, and he told me that was a mistake and that I should consider doing something else, and you know motherhood and blah 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 blah, and I have to think about my future kids, and then maybe 3 hours later I had an exit interview with this visitor center director, and he told me to go to medical school because he felt strongly that I was never going to get married and have kids, and so I needed a way to support myself. And so, like, 23-year-old me that worships every priesthood leader and the ground that they walk on, I was so confused. But I mean, I don't think that situations like that are that uncommon, especially for young women. I mean, men in the church seem to think that they have the right to tell anyone under them that what they should be doing with their life, and women are under everyone. And so,
yeah, that's an excellent point. I didn't even think about how personal decisions for a woman could be threatening to the church. How often women who are maybe career inclined, how many women are counseled by their bishop or their mission president to steer away from that, that trap.
Yeah, I mean, the smart thing would be to just keep your mouth shut and not talk to people about your goals. But I mean, you're young and dumb, and
you're young and believing, of course. So you believe in the system, and so the system's there to help you. So why wouldn't you go to your bishop for counsel? Like, you're making an important life decision. Why wouldn't you go to the most important person as far as spiritual guidance? Oh, that's terrible. It's terrible.
It's terrible. Charles.
Very good.
Yeah.
Frank Caliendo, Charles, but yes.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't see that filter, but
that was Randy doing Frank doing Charles.
Yeah, okay. Did you guys watch that game last night?
I did.
No, we were recording a podcast last night with Mike Tannehill.
I recorded it.
Yes.
Mike.
Yeah.
And Randy just took us down rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole.
It was more, instead of rabbit holes, it was more of me just wanting to beat the shit out of Mike.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the rest of us just going, all right, go ahead, Randy. But you did. I mean, that's what it was.
It's fine. Don't use it. But I did watch. I recorded the game and I did watch it, and it was a very boring game.
I know, such an anticlimactic end to a really fun tournament.
Well, that little white guy for Villanova just was out of his mind.
The Italian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
DiVincenzo. Hey, his name is what was his name? DiVincenzo?
Yeah. I think that's right.
Do you know how that's important to Mormonism?
The Pearl of Great Price video.
No, it's
the Book of Mormon.
How rare possess?
Yeah, right. Chichi no Shinju. That's
Vincenzo
what it was.
di Francesca.
Yeah.
Vincenzo, you must burn this book, which oppresses you. You don't remember that, Liz?
Vaguely.
We've already established that we're considerably older than she is.
No, you're not. You're not considerably. I don't think you're that much older than I am.
Glenn's pretty old. He's like 50.
I'm 46.
I turned 44 this year, man.
46 is the new 50. Haven't you read Goop? That's what Goop says.
I don't even know what
46
Goop
the new
is.
50. It's
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow's thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm just jabbing Randy.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Is Gwyneth Paltrow's? I think we're the same age. She's 46, right?
Oh, I
That
don't
sounds
know.
about right.
I really don't follow Goop. I really don't.
Yeah.
I thought she might be even older than that.
I'm gonna Google it.
You Google it.
All right. So, what else in the essay was there? It was mainly like the yes means no. Okay. So, you did go on to get a master's degree. So
September 25th, 1972. Gwyneth Paltrow. So I'm a few months old. I'm January 28th, 1972. But just for the record, we were both
Okay.
born in 72. So Gwyneth and I kind of,
oh, so you did Google it.
I did.
All right. So
Sorry, wait. What were you? Oh, yeah. Yes.
so
means
Liz,
no.
so you did end up at least going on to graduate school if it wasn't medical school.
Yeah, for nothing. I told you I got a master's in history, right?
Oh, that's pretty worthless.
You're telling me, Randy.
Okay. So how much does this affect your well-being today? How much mental capital do you spend thinking about what could have been? Because this is why I don't like playing this mental exercise of I got married too young. What if I never married Jennifer? Well, then if I could go in a time machine and not get married at 22 to a 19-year-old, then my kids disappear, and I can't abide that.
Sure.
But I think going back, and trying to think about how you could have had a different life if it wasn't for the church is even more painful for women who have given up all of their, not all, but a lot of their potential, and a lot of their dreams to change diapers, and make lunches and stuff like that. How much mental capital do you spend on that, I guess, is my point. And how much do you think that affects your well-being?
It depends on how well behaved my children are being that day. If they're really shitty, then a lot.
Kids can be shitty.
Yeah, they can be most of the time. No, I mean, kind of what you were talking about your kids earlier. I think that it places women that have left the church in an interesting situation because people don't want to talk about regrets, like when their regrets have faces and names and personalities. It's different when regrets are just situations and experiences. So yes, of course, I love my children. Do I think that I would have a whole crew of kids if I hadn't grown up Mormon? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time playing that game, but I tried to do it if it's even possible, just a healthy amount. I don't, if it's dragging me into a mental state that I can see isn't productive, then I'll try to cut it off. But I mean, yeah, I have that conversation with my husband fairly often, and it's been several years since I've left the church, and I have almost no contact with anybody really that's left the church. I have a few friends. I don't talk to them that often. I don't have a community or anything. And I almost think that for me is a good thing because I don't want to just sit around and talk about what could have been or how mad I am. I can do that, on occasion. But
that's really smart. I applaud that. Yeah.
But I think it's also difficult going forward because I want to change the life that I have now, but I'm restrained in certain ways that I think, my husband isn't, because of, and I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe somebody could push back on that. I got a lot of interesting comments on my essay, from men that talked about how they picked certain careers because of the church or because of what they did, what they thought they were supposed to do. And so I think that it places restrictions on everybody. But for me right now, I'm just kind of at this spot. I think I said in my essay, I feel really stagnant. I have, all this desire to move forward in a direction, but I have a lot of things taking up my time right now and my energy, and I'm just scared. I mean, I don't have any confidence to do anything outside of, turning on Hulu. I'm really good at, and Netflix, and I don't know. I mean, I think that you used the word potential before, Randy, and I'm just having flashbacks to the screaming fights that I used to have with my husband, where I remember screaming like, the Mormon Church robs women of their potential.
Yeah.
It robs them of their potential, and that's a tough thing to reclaim your potential. I mean, I don't know how to do that. That's kind of where I'm at right now, trying to figure out, how to regain that potential, how to have any confidence that I have any potential to do anything worthwhile.
Well, I mean, you're not starting at zero, because, like, I mean, I know women that don't have anything past a high school degree, and then they leave the church, and then some of them get divorced after leaving the church.
Right.
And now where are they? They're fucked.
Right.
And I don't have any daughters, but that would have been a big, like point of emphasis, raising daughters. Do not rely on a man.
Sure.
For that. But I mean, do you mind me asking how old you are?
I am 35.
35. Okay. So you're 35 and you have a master's degree. So you're on a springboard. And how old are your kids?
Young. The oldest is 8.
Oh, they're pretty young, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, with a master's degree, I mean, it wouldn't be hard to get into a doctorate program if you wanted to get the doctorate, be Dr. Liz, be the Dr. Liz that you always could have been.
It's a different doctor.
Doesn't have to be a medical doctor, but you can get a PhD in something.
A pretentious doctor. This is career advice from Randy. I didn't know where we were going.
I just don't feel.
That's what this is all about, Liz. This is an intervention.
This is a sneaky trick.
We are damn set. We're going to make you remarkable. You're going to feel that remarkable potential that we can see in you. Randy's got the prescription.
Didn't you feel remarkable when you were Mormon?
I felt, yeah, of course.
Or do they rip men down so much? I feel like they rip men down more, and they make women. I mean, they make you feel pretty good about yourself in a lot of ways.
Oh, the gilded cage, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I miss feeling remarkable all the time.
What things bring you joy? What do you love doing? And you did such a great job with like the creative elements of the essay. I'm thinking that it's something along those lines, that kind of creativity, or maybe that's just the Hulu part that I could put in clips from The Office or something.
Yeah.
But what are the things that you really enjoy doing?
Joy and career advice. Like, you guys are cheap therapy. This is really cheap therapy.
Yeah.
I mean, I do really like being creative. I love writing. And I can't do like painting or anything, but I love art. I love, traveling. I don't know what brings me joy. I don't think about that a lot. I'm so tired all the time.
So naps bring you joy?
Oh, I love napping.
Naps.
God, I love
naps are great.
So much. Yeah.
Take some remarkable naps.
I'm a really good napper. Yeah. Did you guys nap on your missions?
I got the merit badge.
Yeah?
For napping. Yeah.
Oh, I nap all the time.
Napping on a mission? Only I had one companion who was suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome and slept the whole time.
We had a couple of, every mission has like one or two of those guys.
Yeah. It was legit, man. I mean, I would watch him just get totally wiped out, putting his clothes on, and then he'd sleep the rest of the day. I don't know how he did it, but I would nap then.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I should probably tell you that I am in school again for like the 80th time of my life. So
great.
I do love school. I love learning and reading, and it does bring me a lot of joy to be. So I do feel like I'm working towards something. It's just slow, and I I hope it's the right way. I mean, I don't necessarily believe in like right and wrong paths anymore, just kind of a little bit more a consequentialist where I'm like, if this is going to make me happy, I'll do this until it doesn't make me happy anymore. So I'm happy now with it, and then we'll see where it goes. But yeah.
Cool. How's the listening to the inner voice now going? Now that you don't have the church there to redirect it, it's just you. What does that feel like?
That's scary. I mean, I think
Right.
like I said, and
I know, because if you make a wrong decision, it's on you.
Yeah, right.
yeah, it's all me, right?
Yeah.
And then to look back and think the whole time I was really just making all those stupid decisions by myself, but you didn't think, I don't know, it made you feel better to think that it was on somebody else.
Well, and part of a plan. And there's
Yeah.
comfort in that.
Yeah.
Oh, the reason why this didn't work out is because I needed to learn from it, or there's some reason for it.
Exactly. There's always a backup. Yeah, a backup justification. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when we wanted to, or when we had both graduated from grad school and we wanted to move outside of Utah, we just wanted to live outside of Utah. And so we moved to Florida for no real reason. And that made people so uncomfortable to not have like that path, you know, this is our path, this is our backup. Like my parents told me that we were ruining our kids' lives, and
By
just
moving to
because-
Florida?
moving to Florida. Yeah. I mean, yes,
You're
there are crazy people in Florida, but there's really cool people too. But I mean, we just wanted a different experience, and we
That
just wanted to move, and it was so baffling to people that they were like, why are you doing what you want and not what you're supposed to? God's plan, blah blah blah. Key
God's
phrase
plan
after
is
key
to
phrase.
stay in the Rocky Mountains.
Yes, I think so.
I mean, they don't want to be a parochial religion, but they want to keep everyone in the parochial area.
Well,
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I mean, I
you
guess
want
I'm talking
Mormonism
about-
to spread abroad.
I'm talking
Well,
about my parents and family.
Yeah.
They don't care about the spread of Mormonism. They care about their grandkids, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. So the grandkids and grandkids, your kids and the grandparents, do you run into any issues of them like trying to indoctrinate them?
No, you know what? My parents and my in-laws, aside from it just being like kind of awkward sometimes, they really have handled it great. We are the only apostates on either side of the family for many extensions. I don't have any cousins. My husband doesn't have any cousins or aunts or uncles or anybody. Everybody's active. But everybody's been, I mean, they're talking about you when you're not around, and some of that seeps through, but they've been really good. They've been really good with my kids, and they'll ask, like, if they want to talk about certain things with them, they'll ask, and we say no, and everything seems fine. So I definitely I am lucky in that regard, and I have to give credit where credit is due. My parents and in-laws have been really great about it. So I am lucky there. It's just, I mean, was it Bob that was talking about in his Sunstone where you guys were talking about what you would tell your younger selves, and he was saying
It's the one that everybody confuses with Bob, named Scott.
Oh, it's Scott. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, Scott.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. He doesn't listen anymore either.
Oh, okay. And then I'm not sorry, Scott. He was talking about how you can't have relationships based on ex-Mormonism, But for me, it's become really difficult with my friends and family to have a relationship based just on Mormonism. I mean, you realize that's all we have in common. That and like the only thing that my parents and I talk about are, Mormonism, my kids, and Schitt's Creek. And so
They watch Schitt's Creek as
They
active
do.
Mormons. That's pretty edgy.
Is that
That's good.
something? They gave up this season.
They did.
David has a
Because there's so
boyfriend.
much. Yeah. The David boyfriend.
But
thing.
then they binge watched it like the other weekend. They couldn't stay away. But I mean, there's just not a lot. It's difficult to maintain relationships with people that you love when you don't have anything in common. That's something that I'm, thinking a lot about and working on right now. I feel like I'm on a tangent. I'm not anywhere near the answer to the question that you originally asked. I apologize.
That's what we do on Infants on Thrones. We go on tangents.
Okay, well.
No, but that's family. I mean,
We scribble outside the lines and we say, screw the lines.
Screw the line.
Screw the lines.
Very rebellious podcast.
That's
yes.
right. We're just going to make art, man. Just going to make art.
yeah, my conversations with my dad have gotten very superficial, and consequently, our phone conversations have gotten farther and farther apart.
Yeah.
But with family,
You're like holding it at the end of your arm. You're like, hey, Dad. It's like, I can't
the
hear
dad
you.
jokes.
Hold it
The
closer
dad
to
jokes
your
from Glenn.
mouth. And it's like, no.
yeah, and
No lines.
Does that make you sad, though?
It makes me sad, but I understand that my dad's whole existence is tied to the church. His whole the thing that makes my dad the happiest is the thought of rejoining my mom in the celestial kingdom. So there's no incentive on my part to mess with that. So, and we can't talk politics because he gets his politics from Fox News and I get it from elsewhere. And so what's left is our shared history, and there's a lot of shared history there, and it's worth sharing and reliving with him. It's enjoyable to reminisce with my dad, and that's pretty much that, and other superficial things about other family members.
Right.
Is all we have left. But I got nothing with my mom because she's dead. So I'll take that with my dad over what I have with my mom any day. So
something's better than nothing.
Yeah.
I want to give you a hug right now, Randy. I'm serious.
And my dad's great. I was lucky too, just like you were, that my in-laws and my dad they weren't like our next listener essay we're going to interview.
Oh, that's right. Was where he wrote his letter to his dad. That one.
Yeah. He wrote a dissertation to his dad on morality and epistemology.
Yeah. Well, however you communicate is how you communicate, right?
And it spoke to enough listeners that he got the second place prize.
Yeah.
So he's not alone. It reminded me of a lot of me, the way that I dealt with my dad, 10 years ago or so when I was first going through this. And yeah.
So, do you feel like you guys have been out long enough that it's not just feel like sometimes leaving Mormonism and having your whole family still be in it is kind of this special form of torture to watch your family, I don't know, be manipulated and not be able to do anything about it. I find it to be, I don't know, it troubles me. But Randy, you were just saying, I guess, like it brings them joy. So they don't see themselves as being manipulated.
Not at all.
Yeah. So, I guess if it's making them happy, it just, things like with this like MTC scandal that's been going on and listening to family members, justify it and kind of talk it away is just so maddening to me that.
That's why I'm not on Facebook.
Yeah. I don't frequent Facebook very often either, but I don't know, it just makes me sad to see him think like that and to not be able to tell them why they're thinking wrong. I like to tell people when they're wrong, and I can't do that.
That's something that I indulge. Well, it's something I indulge in my mind very sporadically. I try not to do it too much. Like when Trump got elected and all four of my sisters were Trump supporters, that's when I left Facebook because I just didn't need a constant reminder.
64 minutes.
So we need to stop.
Before the Trump reference is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's been worse than the church. It's the church. That's a pretty job. Or just the constant reminders of how they see the world as far as religion and stuff like that. Just didn't need constant reminders of that. And you can let yourself be outraged that they could possibly support something that you hold so harmful, but you need to back off and have an empathetic and understanding point of view of what the church brings to them. And it's just none of your goddamn business to tell them how to live.
Okay.
Randy. I think you have to have a humility if you want to have any kind of healthy relationship. But you can't constantly attack their worldview, like their cherished beliefs.
Right.
It's a exercise in futility.
You say that almost like you're speaking from experience, Randy.
With family, yeah, I guess there were a couple of moments. But ultimately, I still have good relationship with all of my siblings and my dad, because I learned that it's more important to be empathetic than it is to be right.
Yeah. And it's harder. It's harder to be empathetic.
It's a shit sandwich a lot of the times.
Because you're kind of, you have almost like these competing inner voices, that there's the inner voice that wants to be right. and for your own sense of morality to be validated by the people that you love. But then there's also the inner voice that wants to love the people that you love. And that involves the empathy and the compassion and the gratitude, seeing the things that make them happy and going, okay, I'm going to swallow that. And that's kind of where I am now with it. I mean, that's where I was able to go to the priesthood session at conference and just actually feel really comfortable there. Not of any kind of like sense of, oh, I'm going to go back. This would be so awesome. Like, I know I couldn't, but like being there, I saw my uncle, who I haven't seen in a long time. That's not why I went. It just turned out he was there and just like super happy. And then gave him a big hug, talked to him a little bit. He seemed more awkward about it than I did. But it was just nice to be able to not have any sense of guile or anger or anything like that. And I don't know exactly why it happened. Maybe it's because I'm 46. I don't know. Just because I've been through this. I've been hashing this out on podcasts for so long. Maybe I processed it, but yeah,
that's not to say though that there aren't lines in the sand that you shouldn't draw. Like if I get a text from a family member that's, homophobic, I'm not going to just let that go. But I'm not going to push back in an angry, judgmental way. I'm going to push back in a firm, but, gentle way. Which is what it's a relationship I have with my little brother, who's a conservative. He's now considered himself a rhino, but he's never, like, not once been judgmental of me and really earnestly sought a relationship with me, which I appreciate. But sometimes he'll cross the line and I'll push back. But I'm not looking for fights.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a dance I still haven't figured out. And I usually fall, I err on the side of avoiding confrontation, where probably there's times where I should push back more. And I just don't, but like this whole thing, I did a mini-sode back in December about, that weird voiced YouTube video about norepinephrine effect on the brain. And, like that whole thing, like it's really changed the way that I try to interact with people and think, am I going to have my interaction with them be something that causes them to retrench in their beliefs because they feel attacked by something? That's really not where I want my interactions with people to go. So I've been trying to focus on doing a better job of having a softer presentation. I think it's made me feel softer inside. And gooey.
Yeah. But I mean, that works. You've found success in that.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. But I don't have that many family members aside from my dad and his ex-wife, or his ex-wife. No, his wife. Yeah. Sorry, Anne Marie. Yeah. He's gonna get around to telling you eventually. But aside from them, all of my immediate family members have also left the church, so I don't have that constant conflict and grind. And with my dad, we've kind of figured out the dance, how to like dance around the things. And I kind of love every once in a while, like this last time we were over there for Easter on Sunday, and I'm like, yeah, I went to priesthood session, Dad. Next time I'll go with you. And he was like happy about that, but it's also, and then I was telling him about the Bruce R. McConkie, the 7 Deadly Heresies stuff that we've been doing. And we talked about that a bit. Oh, just because I want to get his take. I'm like, did you know, how familiar are you with it? Do you know that BYU changed what McConkie said? And just try to get his read on, like, is he more on the McConkie side or more on the BYU side?
You're getting a stick and you're poking the bear, man.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't there was no contention in it at all. It was, but so that's how I kind of am able to engage in his, because it's the same thing that you were talking about with your dad, like we don't watch the same TV shows because he's not going to watch Game of Thrones or Billions or, like any of these awesome shows that he just won't watch. We watched Phoenix Suns basketball together since I was little, but they suck. And, he's not really watching them right now. Like what else is there to talk about? So we just find things. And
USC football.
Yeah. Yeah. You got that with your dad, right? And you still build experiences where you guys go on outings together and do that. So you have that kind of stuff to talk about, but yeah, it is hard. So I don't know the answer to that.
Randy, I went to my first Coliseum football game this past football season.
Which one?
The University of Utah.
I was at that game too.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were in the end zone suite.
I was.
Oh,
right next to Will Ferrell's suite that Will Ferrell wasn't in.
Cool stadium.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Oh, it was built in the 20s.
Yeah. It's
fun. Hosted the 1932 and the 1984 Olympics.
That's right. They lit the torch in the
fourth quarter. Yeah. We call it the grand old lady, but she's getting a makeover right now.
Oh yeah? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. So can I ask you guys, when you were active, did you think that Satan lived in the water?
Not really,
no?
But I do remember on my mission wondering, like when I would see rebellious missionaries go swimming, being like, "Are you crazy?"
So you did. So you did believe.
I didn't think that Satan lived in the water. I thought that was a commandment not to do it, and if you violate a commandment, you're opening yourself up to, like bad things coming in. But I did have that thought that went against. But then, like years later, I figured out why that scripture was there. But I'll pause on that to let Randy answer.
Well, I don't know. I was always skeptical of Mormon folk beliefs. Like, hey, what's your?
It's in the Doctrine and Covenants.
It is in the Doctrine and Covenants.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like folk belief.
It's still an extrapolation.
Yeah.
To say that if a missionary, like there was some like magical thing where missionaries were even more susceptible to violating the water commandment, and you heard all kinds of stories about missionaries drowning. But obviously, I wasn't too afraid of the water because early in my mission, when I was a district leader, for service, there was a part member family, so legally we could do it for service because the husband wasn't a member. And we were re-roofing, we were redoing the roof. And it was fucking 110 degrees. It's fucking Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't resist. They had a pool in the backyard. And I led the way by jumping from the roof to the pool. And then a bunch of other missionaries did. And then one of the missionaries that was present was upset about it, confessed to the mission president, and I got busted.
The narc missionary.
Oh man, there's so many narcs in missions.
It's true.
So did you, Liz? Did you believe the devil was in the waters?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I did. That one was a.
Where'd you serve?
a custom. I mean, I was in Independence, and so
Oh, you told that. You said that.
We
right.
didn't,
There weren't many pools around.
swim a lot in the ocean of Independence much, but
No, but the river there is probably one of the rivers that Joseph Smith meant when he was saying.
sure, when he saw that devil on the water, right?
Yeah. And do you know why that's in there? Can I reveal it now?
So yeah.
Well, I want to hear you.
No. I said I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I know.
Okay. So Joseph Smith and a bunch of his guys went from Kirtland to go see the progress of Independence, Missouri. You know, how's Oliver doing with all that? And it wasn't going well. So they went back to Kirtland. And as they were going back to Kirtland, Joseph's like, oh man, that was a shit long walk. I don't want to walk. I want to take a carriage, but that's expensive. And so I'm going to get everybody in his party pooled together their money so that he could take a horse and buggy back. And so he told them so that they wouldn't spend extra money or like, oh, I need to keep this much money so that I can take a ferry. He's like, no. You need to walk on land. It's dangerous on the waters, you guys. It's totally dangerous on the waters. The devil is on the waters. You guys need to walk on the land. And what the Lord actually wants you to do is to preach to people as you walk back to Kirtland while I ride in a buggy.
Man.
That
what
was
a dick.
That's in a biography about Sidney Rigdon that was written by I forget what his last name is, but yeah, I read that years ago and I went, oh man, it totally makes sense now why I grew up thinking that there's devil in the water, because he's like, I want to ride in a buggy.
That Joseph Smith, he was a wheeler and dealer, man.
Mm-hmm.
He was always one step ahead. That's not a bad idea.
Not always.
Not always. You're right. There was that last part where it wasn't. And,
a couple times. Cool.
I didn't know that. No, that one was like a weird one that was kind of hard to let go of. I just like swimming on Sundays. I held on to that belief for much longer than was probably necessary, obviously.
Yeah. Well, Liz, thank you for taking the time to do the listener essay and then taking this time to have this chat with Randy and I. And if it's not already clear enough, you have an open invitation to do anything that you want with this. Do another listener essay. You want to do more episodes, anything like that you're interested in, you just need to let me know. Because if you send an email to Randy or anybody else, they're not paying attention.
They're not going to answer.
They're not answering it.
No, thank you. This is a dream. Infants on Thrones. This is a dream of mine. I've been listening to you guys forever.
Yeah.
Thank
Really?
you.
Since when?
Forever, she said. Come on.
Start of my apostasy. Years. It's been years. I think the first time I started listening to you was you did that crossover with
John DeLynn.
The Mormon, the swinger.
No, John DeLynn.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No. Yeah, sorry, John DeLynn. I thought
Yeah.
you meant like swinging podcasts, but
Yeah.
Yeah, the Swinger podcast was way before that. Man, we started back in 2012. Is my memory correctly?
Yeah.
It's like the end of summer.
June 2012 is when we recorded our first thing, but we didn't release it until like August.
Yeah.
so
Cool.
sorry, like if this was boring, you don't
It
have
wasn't
to
at all.
leave.
No, it wasn't
I don't-
boring at all.
Are you sure? It seems,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just my story, so they seem really boring, but
I don't think you're boring at all.
if you need to
No,
add,
I was
like,
going to cut you. I was going to cut in a couple of times and say, like when you're talking about the guy that dropped you off at BYU and said, "Boy, you're a little much." That's an indication that you're not boring.
that I'm a little much.
But that's not boring, though. That's not boring,
Oh,
and that's
man.
not on you. That's on him.
That's right. My
Yeah.
parents were like so happy that my husband was going to marry me because they were worried that I wasn't going to talk any normal person into it. And that's an actual thing that they said in front of my face to his face. So,
Yeah. Well.
Wow.
but I do love my parents.
Yeah. It's. I see it as a great compliment that you didn't fit into that Mormon culture, and I don't know. You might think that it's boring or whatever, but I don't.
Well, thank you. Thanks,
It's
guys.
definitely not boring.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone. Anyone I've ever met.
I have the hardest time knowing how to start these things. Well, actually, I have a hard time starting a lot of things because I struggle with introductions in general. When I introduce myself, I never know what to say beyond my own name. Some people are really good at describing themselves.
How would I describe myself? 3 words. Hardworking, alpha male, jackhammer.
Me, not so much. What should I say? Hello, my name is Liz, and I am an unremarkable person. Now, have I always been unremarkable? I don't think so, but I am now. I have been aware of my tediously boring identity for 712 days, which also happens to be exactly how many days I have been out of the Mormon church. At least I think that's how long it's been since I left. When do you officially leave? When you refuse callings? When you take off your garments? I don't know about you, but for me, my official departure date was the day I stopped paying tithing. I mean, something inside of you really shifts when you decide it would be easier to risk literal posthumous burning than to keep spending 3 hours at church. After I stopped attending church, I almost immediately became aware that I am remarkably unremarkable.
If that's a veiled criticism about me, I won't hear it and I won't respond to it.
Anything I've got to say about me is the same that everyone else has got to say about themselves. I am Liz. I grew up in Salt Lake. I went to the same high school that my parents went to. After I turned 16, I dated the first boy who smiled at me in seminary. We dated for 2 years, and I never did anything outside of the parameters and the strength of youth because I was more scared of angering God than I was horny. I went to BYU. I sent off a missionary. I went on a mission. I got married before I was ready. I had kids before I was ready, and now I stay at home with them.
I totally hear you. I also don't like what you're saying.
Do you see how unremarkable I am? I wanted to share a great story here that would properly introduce me to the infant's universe, one that would set me apart. But the thing is, it seems that Mormonism has eliminated anything in my life that would make me memorable, and it's turned me into a very proper 1950s era robot.
We are robots.
I think I used to be unique. I think I remember having characteristics and goals that were special and different from most of the people around me. I can't be certain when exactly I switched to this bland version of myself, but a pretty strong case could be made for July 2003, which coincidentally is when I became a missionary. Now for me, my mission was when I stopped being true to my unique self and started completely obeying the church voices yelling in my ears. And let me explain this a little bit better should you be getting nervous with me talking about hearing voices. We all go through life listening to voices that come from both within and outside of our own heads, right? I mean, I know there's a lot of ways to describe this experience, moral code, intuition, but I go with an inner voice idea because, still small voice, Mormon childhood and all. So our voice tells us about the person that we want to be and the things that we want to do, but we also have all these external voices from different places telling us who we should be and what we should think and what we should aspire to. And maybe those external voices are also telling us what temperature our drink should be and how long Jesus wants our shorts. Things of that nature. Now, if you're lucky, most of the time these internal and external voices are saying a lot of the same things, but unfortunately they don't always agree. In my opinion, this is one of the greatest conundrums of the human experience. What to do when the voices on the outside and the voices on the inside don't agree? Which voice do you listen to? Who gets to decide who you are and what you'll do? And it seems like the natural answer would be to always go with your gut and listen to your own voice, right? Here's the heart of the matter. The sneaky thing is the LDS Church taught me to ignore the internal and obey the external. And guys, this makes me mad. It fills me with rage and regret. Did I ever make any decision for myself? Have I had any control at all over my life, or have I been fooling myself all this time into thinking I was getting personal revelation when I was really just receiving telegrams in my head directly from the church office building? I was taught to only trust the external voices while ignoring my own. Ignore what's going on in your head even if it's screaming that a situation doesn't feel right.
No, God! No! God, please, no! No!
Your internal no should always become an external yes. Do whatever it takes to get the internal and external voices to align, even if it means gagging your internal voice and hitting it over the head with a Doctrine and Covenants. I mean, you can probably think of a few instances in your own life where you wanted to say no, but external church pressures made you say yes. I'll help you remember if you can't recall anything. Remember that young girl that you met on your mission whose less active parents had died in a car crash before she was baptized? And now that she was older, she had questions about the church and the afterlife in general. Remember how she asked you through fearful tears if she really wouldn't be with her mom and dad and see them again if she didn't get baptized into the Mormon church? Remember how every part of yourself was screaming, no, that doesn't feel right. But you told her yes. And remember how that makes you sick and ashamed to think about still? Remember when you were 25 and a hot 3 seconds after you started dating your now husband, people screamed at you to get married because you were on the precipice of Mormon spinsterhood? Remember how no part of you was ready for marriage and the no's filled every ounce of space in your head, but you said yes and got married a few months later and then made yourself and your husband miserable for the first few years? Well, no means yes no matter how you feel, so I guess I did the right thing. Remember when you fulfilled a lifelong dream of being accepted into medical school but were told not to go and start a family instead? Remember how that felt wrong and you wanted to say no to that counsel but you didn't have the courage to listen to yourself? Oh, and remember the temple?
Is a place of ruin and despair.
Oh, it is the pinnacle of Mormon worship and also the place to go for a quintessential no means yes experience. Do you hate the temple? Does it make you physically ill for years to go and agree to place a man between yourself and a loving God? To accept a lesser fate for the eternities? No, you don't want to do that? Too bad. No means yes here, and shut up and bow your head and say it. Say it. Say yes. Ignore anything and everything that's going on in that head of yours. Veil it, bow it, and say yes. I feel like that was negative. Too negative? I'm being too negative. I don't know. You can tell me later. But here's some good news. I have been out of the church long enough that I can say that the external voices are no longer affecting my every thought and action. When I wake up on a Sunday morning and realize that my lazy parental ass has run out of milk, I run to the store and no voice is telling me that that's wrong. Later that day, when I take my kids to the beach, I no longer check over my shoulder to see if the devil himself on the water is paddling up on a surfboard to drag me down to the bottom. And when I admit out loud that I would prefer to be spending part of my day at work rather than at home all the time with my kids, I no longer feel like I'm going against some preordained personal role or disappointing legions of ancestral spirits just floating around judging me all the time. So this is big. The external voices are losing power every day. However, after ignoring myself for decades, do I even have an internal guiding system anymore? Have I abused and ignored my voice into non-existence? No. I am happy to report that my internal voice is still alive, and it is not still and it is not small. It is confident and proudly shrill. Daily, this voice describes to me a woman who is badass, accomplished, fearless, and remarkable. I am not this woman yet, because while I can hear my internal voice and I pay attention to it, I am still trying to figure out how to listen to it and do the things that it tells me to do. It's scary. How do you make this switch? What is the difference between me and all the post-Mormons out there that seem to figure out how to do and be all the things that they want? Why am I still doing all the same things that I was doing when I was active? Everything inside of me is different, but the only external change that I have allowed is a few more ear piercings. I'm stagnant. It's scary to follow a voice you've never followed before. It's exhilarating and terrifying to navigate life and its constant barrage of decisions all on your own. I'm actually such a scaredy cat that it took me nearly 2 months to work up the courage to submit this essay. Participating in a community like this is something I wouldn't have done before, but the woman in my head would do it, so I'm listening and I'm trying. I left the Mormon church, and sure, I now have exactly 0 close friends. My family relationships are strained and sometimes a little awkward. I'm starting at square one on a career in my mid-30s with people that are a full decade younger than me. But I think this is all okay. If my faith transition were to end today, it wouldn't be a happy ending, but it would be a hopeful one. Because I now get to exist in a world where no means no and yes means yes. I am Liz, and I am still unremarkable, but I might not always be.
Hi, this is Daddy's Princess. I'm 3 years old.
My name is Mike Bond. Where do we live?
In Costco.
In Costco? No, we live in Texas.
Texas.
And we listen to
Infants on Thrones.
But you can't listen to Infants on Thrones. Why?
I'm too little.
Because they don't use very good language, do they? They can comment on this episode at the website called infantsonthrones.com. And if you really like what you hear, give the Quorum a 5-star rating. And write a short review on iTunes. Did I do it?
Yeah.
Anyone for the closing prayer?
Closing the prayer of the day. Thank you for listening to Infants on Thrones.
Everybody's going down to the baby.
Sometimes I secretly record Zoe while she's singing in the shower.
There is a power. Everybody's going down.
She usually just makes up her own words and her own tunes. I have no idea where she gets it from.
What you do that dance? Bam, 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 bam. Welcome to the Dupe.
Welcome to the Dupe.
Down in history.
And neither should you.
What you do